Sorry for the slight delay. It's hard to get up when the sun doesn't even come over the horizon until 7:30, I think. Can't wait to see what it looks like when we go back to non-daylight savings time. Welcome to the October 26th, 2011 PDC Board of Commissioners meeting. Tracy, please call the roll.
Commissioner Dixon?
Here.
Commissioner Mullis?
Present.
Commissioner Strauss?
Here.
Commissioner Wilhoit? Chair Andrews?
Here. Yeah, actually, Charles at the last minute had a conference that he had to attend, but recognizes that we need him for the OSC resolution and said that he would call in right about around 9 o'clock. We may have to recess for it, but he definitely will be here. So before I turn it over, first I apologize. I was in business in Chicago from Sunday to yesterday and managed to catch a head cold. Nothing like flying with a cold. Since we didn't have a September meeting, we actually had a lot of events and exciting things happen since our last meeting. I might talk about a couple of them. I attended the Hispanic Chamber dinner. I think 600 people. It was very, very well attended and an awful lot of fun, as well as the Greater Portland Inc. fly-in dinner. They had a good attendance, and we've got really good feedback from both Greater Portland and the folks who came in around the country. And I'm hearing there's a couple of prospects, actually, that came out of that. One locally has a small presence now, but is talking about a larger presence. Had an opportunity to present to the San Jose Chamber of Commerce. They brought 40 people into town, and they're particularly interested in learning about how we work together regionally on economic development. And, you know, you sit back and look at why is San Jose worried about that? But they are, and it was a great group, and that was a lot of fun, too. Saw the presentation of the Mayor's Economic Development Cabinet on entrepreneurship. Staff did an absolutely fantastic job. We got great feedback on that. And last but certainly not least, had an opportunity to go out to Daimler and be a part of the announcement of them adding a new shift for their Western Star trucks, 350 new jobs. And they are really new jobs. They've already gone through the list of folks who are laid off and have the opportunity to come back. So all 350 of these will be new employees at Daimler, and they have, depending on the source, somewhere between 75 and 150 new jobs in the home office that will come as part of that. And that's really exciting on several levels. I mean, not only is it in the sweet spot of our economic strategy with the traded sector and advanced manufacturing, but the demand for this, I had a chance to talk to the CEO, they sell about 80% of their trucks in the United States and Canada, and really the demand that's driving this extra shift is from the United States and Canada. They do sell to Australia quite a bit. That's been a steady and a good part of their sales, but they are seeing an increase in the sales to especially, they make both an on-road and an off-road version of this truck, and the off-road version is doing really well. Mining, gas exploration, things that need great big, I sort of think of Caterpillar type off-road trucks and machinery will come out of this. So that was really terrific. I also saw yesterday more great unemployment news for at least the Portland region. In August, I think it said in August we created 2,100 jobs in the Portland region, and in September it was over 3,000. The Portland region's unemployment rate has gone from 10.4 to 9.1. That's September 10 to September 11. And you know, that doesn't include things like the 350 that are coming in or the solar power. So we are headed in the right direction. Unfortunately, the rest of the state's not doing as well. The state unemployment level is 9.6, and we are a significant amount of that 9.6. So you can see that outside of Portland, we still need some help. So with that, I forgot the meeting minutes, as I always do, because they're so exciting. So let's go back and take a look at the minutes for July 27th and August 24th. Does anybody have any changes or additions? Move to approve. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, so we're voting on both July 27th and August 24th. All those in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And now on to Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Chair Andrews. Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, the Daimler news is fantastic. It's just a great shot in the arm, and I agree. I think it is part of a trend that we're seeing, and I think we'd love to see that it happen around the rest of the state. We have had quite a bit of time elapsed since our last board meeting. It's been about 2 months, so we've all stayed busy. So there's a lot to report on. So I won't take a ton of time, but I would like to catch everybody up on some of the things that have happened. And the first one is, and it feels like it was a long time ago, but Commissioner Moyle and I had the great honor of joining the Governor Kitsaber's trade mission to Asia. That was 2 weeks in September. And despite spending 2 weeks together, I think we're still friends. I think. No, it was great. It was great to spend more time with Commissioner Moyle. But we visited Japan, Korea, and China. We had packed schedules. It was a combination of meetings with government officials in those countries and various cities, but also meeting with a lot of private companies. The list of companies that we met with includes Sanyo Homes, Siemens, Panasonic, LG, Trimera Group, which is actually a local a company in the athletic and outdoor industry that has their home office in Montreal. They now have a Portland presence and they have a Shanghai presence. But lots of just a lot of activity in each of those countries. A lot of interest in trade with Oregon. And then the last part of it, and Commissioner Moyle can share his thoughts as well. But I really did find, particularly in China, that there is a strong interest and recognition of our expertise around green development. It's just staggering the amount of development that is occurring there, and they really understand the need to import the best green development practices from around the world. So I think and we have quite a few firms that are already active over there, and we're just beginning to roll out a new branding strategy for our green development industry called We Build Green Cities. WeBuildGreenCities.com is a website, and I use that collateral material in some of my meetings in China, and there really is a brand recognition of Portland over there. So it was a fantastic experience. The next big thing that happened since our last meeting, and just happened recently, is we made a big announcement about our neighborhood economic development strategy. We announced the first implementation steps. It's what we call the Neighborhood Prosperity Initiative, and the Mayor Adams and Chair Jeff Kogan made the announcement jointly at the offices of IRCO in East Portland last week. And what they announced was the core announcement was a proposed creation of up to 6 new small urban renewal areas in outer Northeast Portland and East Portland that would provide a small amount of seed money within commercial districts to kind of jumpstart activity in those 6 areas. Those are areas that I think are it's well known that there are lots of areas that sit outside of our existing urban renewal areas. There has been a disparity in investment in areas in East Portland and outer Northeast. So this, at least without being able to bring larger urban renewals out there, we certainly can create small urban renewal areas that do provide a head start for these areas. Also announced was our first Small Business Technical Assistance Awards, which went to five different organizations. I won't list them here; they're all on our website. But a great group of firms that will now be providing small business assistance to these priority business districts throughout the city. And we really saw great collaboration among these firms. Normally they would operate independently, and these organizations came together around our RFP. And then the county, and it's just a great sign of the growing collaboration between the city and the county. The county announced that they will target their microloan program in these target areas as well. So that's just step one for our neighborhood work, but a very exciting first step. Also, kind of related to that, a number of us attended the grand opening, the ribbon cutting for Killingsworth Station beginning of last week, a project that PDC had a significant role in not just financing, but also from a project management standpoint. We had a number of staff who worked for years to bring that project to fruition through. It's one of the few projects that I think actually made it through the recession and got built. And some of the staff from PDC are now PHB, but we kind of stuck with it. So it was nice to be able to see it come to completion. And they are selling units there. It's a condo project right on the yellow line. So if you're interested, it's killingsworthstation.com, I believe. Changing topics, we received a really positive news in September that the region was awarded a grant from the United States Economic Development Administration, something called the JIAC grant, but it's the Jobs Innovation Accelerator Challenge Grant Program, and we competed with metro areas around the country for this, and the Portland region was one of 20 areas selected. The total award is $2.2 million. It'll help fund the growth of our clean tech industry in the Portland region. But what our application was really about was how do we tie the growing opportunities in the clean tech industry with our manufacturing base, and how do we plug manufacturers into those opportunities, and how do we help those manufacturers innovate around new products and technologies that can serve those industries. PDC itself will receive $1 million out of the $2.2 million, and then we'll work with Oregon Best to implement our part of the program. Oregon Best is one of the state's signature research centers, and they focus on clean tech innovation. We also received an award. We received an award from the SBA, the Small Business Administration, over $400,000 grant to do small business development. That was a program a grant we applied for in combination with Mercy Corps Northwest, at the Astra Women's Business Alliance, and then the Metropolitan Contractor Improvement Program, MCIP. So that's really around much smaller minority-owned businesses and contractors. As Chair Andrews mentioned, we've been talking a lot lately about entrepreneurship, and so last week we had the unveiling of our the next phase of our entrepreneurship strategy. We had a great event at Large Films. We had a panel discussion as well as a reception. There's just tremendous energy in this community now around startups and entrepreneurship, particularly in the software and design industries. The year-long study that we've been engaged in around entrepreneurship, as well as the action plan, are all on our website now. If you go to portlandforbiz.com/entrepreneurship, you can find all this information, and so we're excited to move forward on those programs. The discussion around entrepreneurship continues actually next week as well. Venture Northwest is in town again, and then the Portland Seed Fund is showcasing their companies. So this is truly the kind of excitement and momentum that we've been trying to create around this topic. Moving over to our cluster businesses, as the chair mentioned, we had the great Daimler success story, which is part of our advanced manufacturing cluster. During the past month, we had Revolt had the grand opening, or the ribbon cutting, on its new facility in Airport Way. The mayor and I had the pleasure of being part of that. The city signed an MOU with a company called Lucid Energy. Lucid Energy is a new clean energy company that actually tries to create energy from the flow of water in like municipal pipes. So we worked with the Portland Water Bureau to sign a pilot MOU with Lucid to test their technology in Portland, and this is all energy that's unused when massive amounts of water are flowing through the city, from Bull Run into the city. There's energy that isn't needed. Actually, I learned this from the Water Bureau, that they actually have to slow down the water because there's too much water pressure coming from Bull Run. So this allows them to use that energy as opposed to trying to actually have to use pumps to slow the water down. And then that will create energy that can be used, obviously, for all sorts of things. So local company, and that should be market-leading technology that they develop. We also welcome Drupal Association, which is another, it's in our software cluster. Drupal is another open source language, and the organization that manages that industry, that code, if you will, found that they wanted to move from California to Portland, and this is the place to be. I think we are truly the open source capital of the U.S., and so they're now in Portland. And then the last item on the cluster front is really we had the groundbreaking for the Collaborative Life Sciences building in the South Waterfront, which again we could spend a whole hour on that, but one of the largest buildings to be constructed in Oregon in recent years. It's one of the largest educational buildings. It's a collaboration between OHSU, Oregon State University, Portland State University, and it will bring together all the different life sciences and medical programs within the state university system, and should provide space for startup companies in those industries. And so we'll be providing financial assistance to that project around that kind of business accelerator piece of the project. And then the last thing I want to do is just, because we have had some new staff come, I thought it'd be great if the board could hear about who the new PDC employees are, because we really are attracting some wonderful people. So the first person, her name is Fran Breeding. She's a senior budget analyst on our financial planning team. She comes to us from San Francisco. She worked for the city and county of San Francisco in their capital planning program for 10 years. She was dying to come to Portland, and we were able to bring her up here. We welcome Gina Bell, who is on our neighborhood team. Gina Bell worked for an organization in Forest Grove called Adelante Mujeres. She was the director of operations for that program, and she also managed their farmers market. So she has a strong background in microenterprise business development, working with minority-owned businesses. She was in the Peace Corps as well, and so she's coming and she's going to help manage our own microenterprise programs, as well as our small business programs and the technical assistance programs, those things. So great addition. And then the last one, she's here in the back of the audience here. Michelle Shelton is our new human resources manager. We've had that position open for a while, and so we're very excited to have Michelle. And she is full of energy and is ready to make a difference. So welcome, Michelle. And then we're also growing the PDC family. I think many of you know that our deputy director Kimberly Branham had a baby, and so everybody's happy and healthy, and she'll be out for a few months, and so we're all excited about that. And then I know I've gone on long enough, but the last thing I just have to mention is our chair, Scott Andrews, has been involved with not one but 2 awards this month. His family, the Mark family, was honored at the Simon Benson Awards hosted by PSU. That's a very significant award and reflects the contributions of Scott as well as the Mark family. So congratulations on that. And tomorrow night, many of us will be at the Portland Business Alliance Leadership event, where he will be honored again for all of his contributions. So congratulations, Scott. These are well-deserved.
Thank you, Patrick. John?
Just real briefly, it was really an honor to go on the governor's trip to Asia, and excuse me, the whole focus was how do we export more Oregon goods and services, and it was a good combination between calling on people that are already here and calling on new people, and it just shows the need for continuous outreach and building relationships, because nothing happens overnight. It's long-term, and it's building the relationships and going back and back and back. But having the governor along really set the tone that we were serious, and it was a great trip.
Neshka?
I don't have much to say beyond what Patrick just gave, but definitely in 2 months, a lot has gone on around here, and it sounds like there's a lot of exciting work that we're doing, in particular, the neighborhood economic development strategy that's moving forward. I'm pleased to see that that's well on its way to being a successful movement, and there's just a lot of smart innovators in this town, and I'm really proud to be part of this commission that's looking to support and encourage what's happening with startups and entrepreneurs, and I mean, it just seems like the focus is small businesses, and that is very important, so thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
You stole my pitch on honoring Mr. Andrews.
Oh, sorry.
Andrews here.
We can do it again.
No, I'm teasing. Well, just a couple items. One, as we speak, the mayor and a whole group of folks from the city of Portland are in Asia right now at an eco summit in Hong Kong, and that's quite exciting. The manager of our office in Shanghai is over there with them, and we appreciate that opportunity. I was up at PSU yesterday, and it's amazing to see the partnership between PDC and PSU with a focus on creating jobs, getting the students into internship positions, working with software companies. I think that's pretty spectacular. On the Killingsworth Station, I think a big hand should go out to former PDC Commissioner Berta Ferran. Really, something that she pushed for was ownership, home ownership for low-income families, and I think this is really a wonderful accomplishment that she started pushing for 7 years ago. I was at that groundbreaking for OHSU, and all I can say is 5 years ago, if we thought that Oregon State, PSU, and OHSU would come together to build a $100 million plus project, there's just no way that would have happened. Wonderful collaboration between those institutions, also focused on creating jobs. Very exciting. And finally, today and tomorrow, the PDC, in combination with the Office of Sustainability, has an Eco District Summit here in Portland. It's really the first of its kind in the nation. It again shows leadership and sustainability. They're expecting a large turnout. That's bringing people to Portland to see the innovative things that we're doing, and that can be exported really nationally and internationally. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you for the report and the comments. Patrick, I'm involved, as you know, on a daily basis, but when we sit down and start listing what it is that we're going on, even being part of it on a day-by-day basis, it's pretty amazing.
I had to edit the list, so there's a lot more that we could have talked about.
I just want to make two other quick comments, and one again on the Killingsworth Station. That project was so important to that neighborhood. Number one, I think, on the gem list of things that they wanted to accomplish, and I was so impressed with the innovative design. There are bicycle racks in the halls of the building, the elevators designed for people to bring their bicycles into the building and upstairs, and the lofts themselves are just really well done. I think it's just a terrific addition to the neighborhood. And the second piece was, again, just the neighborhood, our micro districts, the opportunity districts, just one more step in many that we have taken over the last few years to reach out to outside of the downtown area and try to make sure that we're helping folks in the neighborhoods. And this one goes the step further. It's people who are not in our current sites, and very, very exciting to have the county and Chair Kogan as part of the enthusiasm behind that project. Should be really interesting to see how that works. It's just designed to wind down in 6 or 7 years, and then there'll be an opportunity to do it in other locations if it's successful as we think it will be. So with that, we have no one signed up for public comment on items not on the agenda. Make sure there's nobody here that would like to do that. And if not, we will move on to the regular agenda. Action item 5, authorize Executive Director to execute disposition and development agreement with Beam Development, LLC for Burnside Bridgehead, Block 68, Authorize loan terms, Resolution 6905, Stephen and Geraldene. And I can't help but comment that the article in the Oregonian this morning was the best article on a project that I have seen since I've been on the commission. I mean, it was well balanced. It brought out the stuff that we're not happy with, but the stuff that we are happy with. And I want to thank Jeff Manning wherever he is. I'm going to call him because it was work well done. Stephen, Geraldene.
Commissioners, Chair Andrews, Executive Director Quinton, good morning. I am Stephen Shain. I'm here with Geraldene Moyle, and you'll hear from both of us. But before we start, thank you. I want to thank those that have been involved in helping us get to where we are today. Lisa Gramp in the legal department, Becky Marsh, Lou Bowers, and Trang Lam have been very instrumental in helping us get to where we are today. The actions that we're asking for you today to authorize is a disposition and development agreement with Beam Development and authorize at this point a commercial redevelopment loan for the land acquisition. The DDA at this point, if you authorize it, they have until March 2013 to perfect and close on that transaction. This project, before we get into some more details, aligns directly with PDC's and the city's economic development strategies. One of the primary reasons that we are moving forward is the economic benefits that this site will provide. It's a physical manifestation of our entrepreneurial development plan, which just last week we entered Entrepreneurial Strategy 2.0 that Executive Director Quinton announced, and this is certainly meets that. There will be space in this building to incubate entrepreneurs and clusters, and the map that you see before you here identifies various hubs that already currently exist in employment. This will be a very significant anchoring on the northern edge of the site. The timeline, Burnside Bridgehead, has had a long history that gets us here today. Over a period of almost 8 years, PDC acquired about 4 acres of site from till 2006. We spent collectively $11 million on this site. PDC entered into negotiations with Opus through an MOU that did not come to fruition. At that point, the project team, Geraldene, myself, and others worked with the community to reposition the site. This team that, as we got together, we stopped the moving forward on the demolition of the Convention Plaza building, which allows us to get to where we are today. Well, you'll see in the site here that you can see in the period of time here, the times that we acquired the site. This portion that it has this dashed line through here is the site that we are transferring today. When we acquired that site except for the corner, the little green corner, for about $8.8 million in 2006. That was a part of the transaction of moving forward with Opus. At that time that we acquired the site, it was an operating building. It had full access down Cooch. And I'll talk to you about that in a little bit later on about how that has changed and where we get to today's value a bit more. But we moved to the framework plan, which had great community outreach. We had we came to the board in May 2010. You adopted the framework plan. Beam Development was acting as our non-compensated strategic advisor. And based on part of that is based on how they handled and worked through their role. They had the opportunity to claim up at least a minimum of 20% of the site. And after we came to the the end of the framework plan, we ended up negotiating with Beam Development, and the portion that you see that we've talked about, again, that portion of Block 68, 69, and a little bit of 67 was the first phase one of moving forward in Convention Plaza. Just parenthetically, we have already entered into MOUs with a couple of other developers on 67 and 75. This is a little sensitive here today. So the phase one Convention Plaza, we're selling it for $2.3 million. Of the portion of the site through here in blue, the entire site, this outside dashed line was what we acquired it for $8.8 million. We have had an appraisal in last year, and we just updated it. We just received the final update in the past couple of days, and it's the same value, $2.3 million. The price has not gone up or gone down. They've looked at what the highest and best use is. There's also one of the things they looked at is that it's a vacant, derelict building. When we were moving forward on demolition, we vacated the tenants. We demolished the Rat Bakery site. And in that period of time, from the time that we acquired it to where it is today, Cooch Street has moved through, has basically cuts through this way here, Block 75. There's a closure here, so people cannot enter Cooch Street down through there. So we have limited access on the site. We have there's infrastructure that needs to be done. There's a limited kind of development potential, and that's one of the reasons that the price has been appraised at $2.3 million. What we are transferring is blocks 68, 69, and 67, and we're also having certain requirements in there. And what is in the paper today, I think it also talked about that Beam Development is going to have control most of the site. All we're transferring it today is roughly about a third of the site. So there are still plenty of development opportunities left on this site for other developers to move forward. On Cooch Street Plaza, what we're actually looking at, well, not trying to kind of slice and dice this a little bit more, but what we're actually transferring from about was originally what was acquired was 97,000 square feet. We're conveying about 70, but within that 70,000 there are, this little portion of 69 is really non-developable. This portion here is going to be Cooch Plaza with some stairs, so there's a limit. So what we're actually conveying for developable is about a 40,000 square foot site. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Geraldine and to go through some more of the project details.
So the Convention Plaza building is about 96,000 square feet in whole, and Beam Development will be doing an adaptive reuse of that building. The work includes structural upgrades, which allow for a wider occupancy of uses in the building. We're adding a penthouse to the building, which allows not only additional density and square footage for lease, but also allows for some outdoor space that would be rentable. And finally, it's being added to the historic register so that if needed, financing-wise, tax credits are available. The other thing about the building is that it starts to implement the entrepreneurial action plan, as Stephen mentioned. This is the northern anchor of the East Side Entrepreneurial District. It's the site of the digital hub. And it will also be a hub for entrepreneurs and higher education for technology transfer and commercialization opportunities. So as this building gets revamped, it will have opportunities for all of these items of the entrepreneurial action plan. One of the other things that's happening with this transaction is we're advancing many of the Bridgehead infrastructure elements that we need to complete to take advantage of the remainder of the site. And we're leveraging Beam's work to do this work such that we don't actually have to do these improvements. As Stephen mentioned, it's the the Cooch Street Plaza, and you can see some images of what this pedestrian and bike connection might look like. It's the 3rd Avenue streetscape activation, and you might recall from the framework plan that having pedestrian activity and retail and restaurants on 3rd Avenue was important to catalyze the site. And we're also exploring the Northeast Davis Street extension. Right now it's a circular route around this area due to the Cooch couplet and some other improvements. With the extension of Davis Street in the future, you'll have a direct access into the Bridgehead site and also down to 2nd Avenue. And finally, this Cooch Street Plaza improvement also allows for some third space. It gives some outdoor space where people can hang out, work on their laptops, drink some coffee and whatnot. And then it also provides a second floor access into the building where you could imagine some of those third space elements might be as well. Just an overview of our disposition and development agreement. First of all, it implements the framework plan infrastructure as we just talked about. And as you can see on the aerial, there's about a 30-foot drop between 3rd Avenue and 2nd Avenue. And so that pedestrian and bicycle connection of the Cooch Street Plaza helps connect people in that 30 feet in a little more nicer way. The business and workforce equity policy is required. Green building will also be required with LEED Silver. The project will sustainably rehabilitate the historic structure. And then finally, again, it supports the cluster and high-growth industry with the renovation of the building. One of the ways that we're innovating on our real estate transaction is we have the ability to have Beam Development earn down the value of the land. We're selling the property for $2.3 million. But if certain elements are implemented over the first 5 years of the project, there's the ability to reduce that value. First off is the Cooch Street Plaza, and it should be noted that that's required to be completed prior to certificate of completion. We view that as an important infrastructure element, and that needs to happen first and prior to us issuing our certificate of completion. The other highlights include an important one for the entrepreneurial strategy, which is the target industry and high-growth tenants. We are incenting lower rents for those industry tenants, and through lower rents, there's an ability to earn a higher reduction in that value of the land. The digital hub and research and institution space also has that incentive. We have the penthouse with leasable space and rooftop outdoor space that could be rentable to the public. And two other just minor items are the street ornamental lighting, which helps create that pedestrian feeling along 3rd Avenue, and electric vehicle charging stations. If you look on the matrix that's in the DDA, all of these have a value higher than $2.3 million, but overall the maximum amount that they could earn down is the value of the land, which is $2.3 million. And at the end of 5 years, any remaining value would be rolled into the commercial property redevelopment loan. And that loan is summarized here on this slide. Its purpose is for land acquisition. The amount is up to $2.3 million, and the commercial property redevelopment loan guidelines are applicable to this loan. So that's the interest rate, the fee, and the term. Two highlights are for the first 5 years. While they have the opportunity to earn down that value, there will be no payments and no interest. But at that 5-year mark, there'll be capitalized interest on the remaining balance once the earn down has been reconciliated. And I think it's important to point out that this $2.3 million loan is leveraging a $14.5 million project. So that's a pretty high leverage of 7-to-1, which is good for us. I'm going to turn it over to Stephen to recap.
Let me do a couple project recaps. One is that Beam Development has been negotiating with a couple of tenants. We have also, PDC has been in discussion with the Software Association of Oregon to look at relocating to this site to help jumpstart the digital hub at that area. As it mentions, it does deliver on the entrepreneurial action plan, but I think one of the most important things, and you did read in today's paper, that there was about a $450,000 pre-development loan. That loan is to be repaid when they have their construction financing. That money comes back to PDC. One of the things I think we're looking at is that we're only using the value of the land to leverage and to kind of move things forward. We're not providing any cash, direct cash into this project. So one of the things that we have is we feel that we've reached a proper balance of the risk and rewards. One is that if they have till 2013 to move forward, we think based on where they are with their tenanting and some discussions that they've had with lenders is that should move forward much quicker and potentially have portions of the building open by the end of next calendar year. I think we've set a pretty high bar for Beam Development to meet on earning out any of the money. That's one of the things I think it's important that we have that kind of a high bar. This is public dollars. We want to get these dollars back to circulation within the Central East side so we can move more projects forward on the Burnside Bridgehead. We're willing to answer any questions you might have, or you might want to ask somebody else to come up right now.
Well, I think we ought to give, I see Brad Mawson. I thought I saw Brad. Is he hiding?
And Jonathan's here as well.
And Jonathan are here. Do you guys want to come up and say a few words? Welcome. Good morning.
Morning. Morning, Chair Andrews and Commissioners. This has been an interesting process, and I have to tell you that we're very excited about this moment in time. We think the opportunities are great. We really appreciate the work of PDC. I mean, I think this should highlight the kind of encouragement, the support, the staff efforts that have taken place in order to keep the ball rolling. It's not just on our side, it's certainly on PDC's side, and I think that's really an important element to talk about. Jonathan, you want to talk about our commitment to the process?
Yeah, well, I think I want to thank all of you again. And, I think we've been really successful in the Central East Side, tenanting similar types of buildings with the types of cluster businesses that, are integral to PDC's economic development strategy. And I'm really confident that we're going to be able to continue that at the Convention Plaza. We're in negotiations with a 25,000 square foot tenant, and it's really just coming down to TI allowance. And I think that will be the anchor we need to close on financing. His conversations on financing have gotten to a very detailed level, just kind of going over post-construction cash flows with the lender. I think we're pretty close there. So we're anxious to get started, and we think that we can tenant the building quickly with the types of tenants that PDC would like to see us fill the building with, and confident will be a successful project.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for all of your help in terms of putting together the neighborhood plan. I know there was a lot of uncompensated work that went on for a long period of time, and I know that the neighborhood is fully supportive of this, and it's a result of that hard work. I appreciate you being here today. Anybody else have questions for Brad or Jonathan?
Just a couple. First, thanks so much. We appreciate your leadership in developing an impossibly tough market. We appreciate the fact that you're bringing the kind of tenants that create new jobs and innovation for the city of Portland. I think it's absolutely spectacular. I see that you're signed up for a minimum of LEED Silver. Is that all agreed to? Can you do better than that, do you think? That's one question.
We're required to do silver. We're going for gold.
Fabulous. That's really spectacular.
Yeah, we're shooting for LEED Gold, and we think we can get there pretty easily.
Also appreciate the fact you guys did an amazing public outreach. You had a whole bunch of community meetings. You got a lot of input. I was really impressive about how you worked with the PDC to make that happen, so I really appreciate that. What about the IT infrastructure in terms of fiber to the area? How are you going to support the software companies you're trying to attract?
Well, right now, Integra has an easement through the property down to a Verizon AT&T pole. They have, in kind of consideration for that easement, I think we re-signed a new easement, well, PDC did. They've agreed to bring fiber into the building. So that will be one of the fiber options in the building. There are several other providers in the neighborhood, in the district, that are willing to bring fiber into the building. So that it's important to have that without the demand. Oftentimes, a service provider won't bring the fiber to a building until you have the tenants that require or want the service, but it's great that Integra is going to be bringing it ahead of time, so we'll be able to offer that from day one. And so that's really important. And then on the TI level, if it's Cat 5 or Cat, I don't want to get too specific, but, there's going to be that infrastructure in the building. That's really important to the branding of the building also.
Great, thank you.
Super, thank you.
Thanks for sticking with it in a tough economic time, but to me, this looks like the right project at the right time for the area, so thanks.
Steve, thanks. Steve, Geraldine, you want to come back up?
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. I just want, again, this is exciting on a number of levels. It's a project that PDC has worked hard on for a number of years, has made a considerable investment in. You can see that the development world is healing a little bit. There's interest in financing this project that wouldn't have been around 18 months ago. It's a very high leverage project for us. I mean, we have struggled in the last couple of years to get projects off the ground at, making a 30 or a 40 or a 50% investment, both in terms of grants and loans. And this one, we're making a $2.3 million investment into a $14.5 million project, which again is sign that we're headed in the right direction. This is a catalytic project, kind of a historic sort of a project that PDC has done in the past, but I think it is a great example of the new PDC, because one of the reasons why we're doing it is that it fits perfectly within the economic development plan. It is designed to support the type of cluster industry jobs that we are after. And these are the kind of things that we look at today when we support a project. The earn down includes amenities in the neighborhood that will support the other businesses. I think the Cooch Street attachment is absolutely critical to that neighborhood. Otherwise, you have to go blocks and blocks to be able to get there. It's like you'd be able to see it, but you wouldn't be able to get there. So I think it's a terrific project. We've got the right developer, and it's going to be a real catalyst for the neighborhood. Steve, why don't we start with you, unless you're satisfied?
No, I'm good.
Neshka?
Okay, so since I've been here, which is a year basically, I have heard the Burnside Bridgehead project so many times. It's just as if this is just, it sparks a lot of excitement around here. And so it is very exciting that, we're here today and that the opportunity is very close to potentially happening. My question is specifically around, just because of the excitement and the fact that it is going to be an entrepreneurial district, is ensuring that when it is developed, the business and workforce equity program is set in place, and to make sure that, when they come back at the end, that we can continue to be proud of our record in that department, and just what's going on early on, because a lot of times that's where sometimes the shortfalls occur, to making sure that the business and workforce equity with minority contractors and women-owned businesses are a part of this process.
Commissioner, we've been very clear from the start of negotiations with Beam Development that this is a requirement that they meet these goals and obligations. One of the things that we'll do here very soon after the DDA is approved, we'll sit down with them and in our construction management group and make sure that they understand all the kind of the workforce requirements that they need to meet and move forward on that. They've committed when they sign their portion of the DDA, they're committed to meet that as a goal and obligation. One of the things we will certainly make sure that we do is monitor that as they move forward.
Okay, absolutely, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. John? Patrick, anything? Okay, good for the cause. Well, then I would thank you, great report, great project. I would look for a motion to approve Resolution 6905, authorize Executive Director to execute disposition and development agreement with Beam Development LLC for Burnside Bridgehead Block 68 and authorize loan terms.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Congratulations. The sooner the better. Okay, the next item is also an action item, Resolution 6907, authorize Executive Director to negotiate and execute an agreement regarding 10th and Yamhill. It's unusual, actually, for an item to come to our agenda this late, but it's actually, I think, very good news in that it tells you that the negotiations for the redevelopment are moving forward rapidly, and was requested that we get this done at this meeting versus the next meeting in early November. So with that, Steve, you're back to see us.
haven't even left. Commissioners, once again, good morning. We're asking, as you have up here, is to authorize us to enter into the, authorize the executive director to further negotiate and execute an agreement on 10th and Yamhill Garage. This is an interesting agreement that we're asking you to negotiate. It prohibits PDC to fund a project. It's a negative financing. But what this project will do is it helps move forward the retail strategy. It helps move forward a development that's going to take place across the street from the 10th and Yamhill Garage. This is, I think, as the chair mentioned, the real estate market seems to be improving a little bit. This is, I think, is also another mark of kind of a change. What this also does is it helps provide the coordination between the Galleria, the development that's going to take place there, and 10th and Yamhill Garage, and when the proper time for the redevelopment of the garage happens. This allows the Galleria to be reinvigorated to meet its historic century-old use as a department store. It also allows the retailer that the Bill Nato company who owns the Galleria to move forward in the negotiation. It allows that retailer the certainty that they have parking in the downtown market for at least 2 years after the date they open. As you can see through here on this map, here's the 10th and Yamhill Garage, here's the Galleria. It's on Morrison. One of the issues of what's interesting on Yamhill Morrison are the signature streets in the downtown retail strategy. These two projects will kind of mirror each other in the time frame that they move forward. Again, PDC will not provide funding on this project. What it does is will allow if PDC future board decides to go ahead and do it, the Bill Nato company has an ability to come in and get an injunction or a restraining order from PDC doing that, but there is no monetary remuneration on the part of PDC to the Bill Nato company. We are pretty close to moving forward on the contract, but we need a little bit more time. But one of the things that we want to do is to have your authority for the executive director to continue the negotiation. We can get the agreement completed, and I think that's pretty much where we are. It's a pretty quick process. We're asking again, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. I want to start by saying this is not in any way, shape, or form meant to show that we've lost our enthusiasm or support for the redevelopment of the 10th and Yamhill Garage. In the downtown retail strategy, that project was picked by the downtown community as the #1 project that needed to happen to revitalize that portion of downtown. Today it might be #2 behind getting the hole in the ground next to it filled up, but that's another story. But we still want to accomplish this, but I think it's logical that any major retailer that went into Galleria would want to make sure that their attached source and major source of parking was intact while they were in the startup stage. So this was a very creative solution to kind of a difficult problem. I really appreciate John Carroll, who I see in the back of the audience, supporting this and understanding it. He's been working hard on a development. I think we all recognize it is of the magnitude and complexity that this probably doesn't really delay the end project by any real manner, and gives us an opportunity to take another hard look at it and make sure that we get done what we get done. What we get done there is the right project. We will know, which we wouldn't have known, what's in the Galleria, and that's significant. I have seen some of the drawings. I've been part of the process. It's pretty exciting what will happen to the Galleria if this goes forward, and it's a $20 million plus investment in downtown that will create a lot of jobs and bring a lot of foot traffic to downtown Portland. John, do you have anything?
No, I'm just glad that you mentioned that the 10th and Yamhill project won't be slowed by this. I think it's important to help fill the Galleria. It'll be a great presence downtown. But that was one of the questions in my briefing, and so I'm pleased to see John here, and obviously we want to see that one move forward as well.
Neshka?
I absolutely agree with what John just mentioned, and it is good to see that there is support. And again, it sounds like it's something exciting, and the Galleria definitely has needed that. So we're looking forward to this project taking place.
Steve?
Let's do it.
All right, then I would look for a motion to approve Resolution 6907, authorize Executive Director to negotiate and execute an agreement regarding 10th and Yamhill.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Chair Andrews, if I could I just want to recognize the work of our General Counsel, Eric Iverson, as well on this. It was ultimately his idea that got us to the solution, so thanks a lot, Eric.
Great, awesome solution. We are actually going to break. I've just gotten a note from Charles that he will be available at 9:30.
Great.
So we've got a half an hour to get other business. Yeah. And Steve, I know you've got a.
So, before the discussions begin on the next item, I wish to declare a potential conflict of interest on the matter. As you know, I'm president of GLUMAC. If the Oregon Sustainability Center project proceeds, there is a possibility that GLUMAC could be a subcontractor on the project. As such, I'll be recusing myself from participating in this matter. In order to facilitate discussion, ensure the expeditious enactment of any action that may take place by the board members also elected not to be present during the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And just as clarification, it's always uncomfortable. I've had to do this in the past, and you kind of wonder why is the commissioner declaring a conflict and then walking out of the room. But there is a provision in the city charter that provides that the decision is delayed if the board member who has a conflict stays within the room. And in this particular case, we can't wait an extra 30 days for this to be enacted. So in a case like this, Steve would have to leave. If it was me, I would have to leave just to make sure that we move that item forward. So thank you very much, and we are on break until 9:30.